Okay, sir. Our participants are already there, and Dr. Anup will be coordinating this event now. Yes.
Hello. Ishan, are you there? Online?
Hello.
Christian?
Yeah.
Christian, you have to unmute your mic. You are urgently needed to take charge of the competitive session. Christian has taken a break or what?
Yeah, in France and Europe, dinner starts at 6 p.m. generally. And in England, it is called tea. So, and lunch is longer in France for 2 hours from 12 to 2, if I'm correct. So, can you just send as a text message to him?
Yeah, sure, sir, sure. बोले Hello, Dr. Christian, are you there? Sir, we are contacting with the Dr. Christian, and
maybe he is feeling that there is a dinner break. So what was
maybe
scheduled for this oral presentation, Anu?
Yes, there are total 6 participants.
No. What I'm telling you, was it to be started at
7 o'clock, 7 to 8
IST, Indian time?
Yes, sir.
So it is there. So maybe some issue, but he appears to be in connection.
Yes, Patil sir is contacting with them.
Yeah. So if you want to explain the shortlisting criteria, it's better that how you shortlisted the 6 candidates. What was the criteria by the jury and by the learned people? One of the criteria was that paper should be having some element of alternatives and elements, new technology, in vitro or other non-mammalian model research, cell culture work. Publication, the research quality was also one of the considerations, but mostly we thought that the paper presentation which are falling in category of alternatives or in vitro or non-mammalian models. That was one of the major considerations. So
right.
I hope that in the next meeting, it will be considered by the participants that they should report their work on the alternatives and in vitro and technological interventions like computational models or intervention of AI or other things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So total six candidates has been shortlisted for oral presentations. If I name them, Avneet Kaur, Mangaldeep, Pooja, Vishal, Simranjeet, and Deepali. So they all have joined us. So whenever Dr. Christian will join, we will start.
Those have not been given a chance, please don't be disheartened.
Yes.
Your work quality was very good, and you made very good effort. The only thing was that we found that those papers were not exactly on the theme of the conference, and also we need to be selective in that case. And there is no commentary on the quality of work. All 9 participants have done wonderful research work in their domain area and their specialization. So it doesn't mean that, and also, this conference is online mode, and we are sitting from morning to evening, late night. So we have to make some adjustment and shortlist few candidates for their presentation, which are really belonging to the theme of the conference. This is one of the considerations, and nothing else, because every person's research is important, either it's a science, history, or social science, or physics, chemistry, or within biology, all disciplines.
Right, sir. Sir, Dr. Christian is going to join shortly. So, meantime, I request Dr. Akbar Shah, sir, to be a jury. Akbar Shah, sir, are you there?
Akbar Shah, be part of this program? Huh?
Yeah, I am there, but
okay. Shall we wait for Christian?
I mean, it's not Rohit Seth around.
He is also Rohit Seth is just.
I was there and I was.
Yeah.
Rohit sir is there.
He is visible, by the way, but. Okay, so we 3 are there. If Dr. Akbar Shah just allow other juries, I request the first presenter.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. So our first presenter is Avneet Kaur. Avneet Kaur, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am there.
Please join your screen. Share your screen. Sorry.
You know the time, 10 minutes, and
yes.
In 10 minutes you try to finish and be short and precise. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Myself, Dr. Avneet. Thank you, sir. Myself, Dr. Avneet. I am going to present on synthesis, biological evaluation, and docking study of some substitute trimethoxybenzyl benzoxazole derivative as selective COX-2 inhibitor and anti-inflammatory agents. Just a minute, sir. Yes. As we know that inflammation is a biological response of vascular tissue to a harmful stimuli, such as pathogens, damaged cell, or irritants. The body white blood cells plays and chemical protect us from physical damage, infection, and other foreign substances such as bacteria and viruses. We all know that there are 2 types of inflammation. One is acute inflammation. Second is chronic inflammation. This acute inflammation is of shorter duration, which may be caused by heat, damage, and other agents. While chronic inflammation is of longer duration, if acute inflammation not treated at the right time, then this results in a chronic inflammation. So we know that this is the mechanism through which that our drug work on. COX plays an important role in Yes. So NSAIDs act by inhibition the COX. The COX plays an important role and it is the mediator of the inflammation. This COX helps in conversion of arachidonic acid to the prostaglandins, which is the main mediator of the inflammation. So at present, we have NSAIDs which act by inhibiting the COX enzyme. Next, benzoxazole. Benzoxazole is a heterocyclic moiety that has a benzene fused with this 5-membered ring, which is an oxazole ring. The attack is generally possible here at the 2nd position as well as the 5th position. So slight changes in the substitution pattern in the benzoxazole moiety results in a different pharmacological activity. At present, these drugs are available in the market, which are having an benzoxazole moiety, whereas phenoxaprop and flenoxaprofen are an anti-inflammatory agents. So at present, the rationale of our work was, we know that NSAIDs exert their anti-inflammation effect by inhibition both COX-1 and COX-2. COX-1 exists naturally, whereas COX-2 is an inducible one. So COX-1 is a constitutive enzyme which is present in many tissues and involved in maintaining the homeostasis and gastric mucosal integrity, whereas COX-2 effects are analgesic and anti-inflammatory effect. So the problem with the current drug is that they have an adverse effect, including gastric bleeding, ulceration, which is due to the inhibition of COX-1. So our whole aim of the project was to synthesize some newer class of derivative which can inhibit COX-2 more potentially in comparison to the COX-1 and have an anti-inflammatory effect with the improved gastric safety profile. So this is a synthetic scheme which we have followed to design the derivatives. These are the 3 steps which we have taken to design our 14 derivatives. These are their physiochemical properties. After synthesizing the compounds, we have gone for the biological evaluation. Firstly, we did the in vitro activity, then in vivo activity, and then the in silico activity. In vitro activity involves in which we have used a kit obtained from the Kemin Chemicals, which consists of an enzyme COX-1 and COX-2 inhibition assay. Which consists of an enzyme COX-1 and COX-2 having a cell line bound to it, which involves the following step. In this step 1, the compound which we have synthesized was taken and they are buffered and was added with a 10 microliter of heme and the enzyme COX-1 and COX-2 enzyme solution. Further, these were incubated for 10 minutes at 37 degrees centigrade. Then arachidonic acid was added and incubated for 37 degrees centigrade. Further, HCl was added and SnCl2 was added so as to convert this prostaglandin H2 into prostaglandin F2 alpha. Further, this was kept for 24 hours with a stirring, and a yellow color which was obtained was spectrophotometrically measured at 412 to 415 nanometer. Further, with the help of the PRISM software, we have calculated the percentage inhibition of the compound at varying concentration, and through this varying concentration, we have calculated the IC50 value from the log concentration versus the inhibition curve. This is the result of the COX-1 and COX-2 inhibition assay. Through this, we have shown the IC50 value for COX-1 and COX-2, through which we have calculated the selectivity index. From these results, it was observed that the compound highlighted in blue color, dark blue color, that is 3B, 3D, 3E, 3H, 3L, and M, was found to be the more potent inhibitor of COX-2 compared to the COX-1. This is the curve which we have obtained from the PRISM software, through which we have calculated the IC50. This curve is showing the IC50 of the compound compared to the standard. Those compounds which showed more inhibition than the standard was further selected for the in vivo anti-inflammatory activity. Further, the in vivo activity was done on the selected compound. From this, we have the inflammatory activity was calculated at varying intervals, and from that we have calculated the percentage inhibition. From the results, it was observed that the compound 3B, 3D, 3L, and 3M, that are highlighted in the dark blue color, showed more reduction in rhabdoedema compared to the standard. And my compound 3B was the most promising analog of the series with the percentage inhibition of 79%, which was more than the standard. This is the graphical data showing the percentage inhibition of the compounds. Further, from the results, we have selected those compounds from the inhibition activity. That compound which showed more inflammation than the standard was further selected for the acute ulcerogenic activity. These are the selected compounds like 3B, 3D, 3L, and 3M, which were screened from the in vitro and anti-inflammatory activity for the ulcerogenic activity. From this, it was observed that the tested compound showed severity index in the range of 0.7 to 1.8, while standard drug ibuprofen exhibited high severity index, that is of 2.20. So from this, we have screened the compound that 3B is showing more inhibition and is showing less ulceration than the standard drug. So further, the histopathological studies are done of the selected compound, and it is examination of the biological tissue to observe the appearance of a disease cell in a microscopic data. So these data are showing that the black filled arrow, that these arrows indicate hemorrhagic streak, whereas white arrows, these one indicates a spot ulcer, and a black line indicates redness and increase in inflammation. So further, after doing the in vitro and in vivo activity, we have gone to the in silico activity so as to validate our wet lab result with a dry lab result. So these are the docking score of the compounds which we have prepared with the standard. From this, these are the docking score obtained. From this, these are the dock pose which are showing the hydrogen bonds are conserved with the COX-2 activity, and these blue line indicates the hydrogen bond, whereas yellow dashed line indicates the hydrophobic interaction, and the pink line indicates the pi-pi stacking, and the red line indicates the salt bridge. Further, from this docking score, we have developed the structure activity relationship, which is showing that the compound electron withdrawing chloro group at the ortho and para position of the phenyl ring, that is in the case of compound 3B and 3B.
Last minute, please hurry up.
Yes, sir. Nitro group at the para position leads to an increase in activity, whereas the electron donating group at para position produces moderate activity. And from this, we have concluded that among the prepared analog, these 4 analogs showed significant anti-inflammatory activity and ulcerogenic activity, whereas compound B emerged as the most effective compound of the series with improved safety profile. Among all the synthesized compound, these moiety was established as the most potent compound, and they can be taken as a lead for further development of safer and more active anti-inflammatory agents. So the part of this work is published in a bioorganic chemistry, and one review article on this is published. And lastly, I would like to acknowledge the thanks to DST Inspire for providing me the fellowship to do this work, and DIPSAR and DIPSRU for providing me the infrastructure and resources. Thank you for allowing me to present.
Thank you, Avneet. Thank you so much. So over to you, sir. Rasuddin, sir.
Are the all COX-2 inhibitors safe enough? Because there are certain concerns about many COX-2 inhibitors. So this, what is prediction of safety in your case of this?
Sir, in my case, in the relation to the inflammation, we have observed that the compound which we have designed are having the less ulceration, and they are more safer than the drug which are available in the market. And further, we are doing the studies on.
Yes, properly recall, what was your comparator drug in this case?
Sir, in my case, my drug was celecoxib.
Celecoxib is a known, very well established COX-2 inhibitor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, but anyway, if any other audience or member, do you remember any question?
Hello,
yes.
Sorry, I am back. I apologize.
That's
I
fine.
have a question. Very interesting presentation showing how in vitro and silico can mitigate the use of animal, even if at the end you need some animal studies. I saw that you studied the toxicity in the stomach. Any studies have been done for liver toxicity of the product or not?
No, sir. As such, not. We are trying to do on the liver as well.
Do you envisage to use spheroid as presented previously by Dr. from Suresh from OncoSeq?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do you envisage to use
Usala? So he talked about the safety of the GI safety, GI toxicity.
Okay, sir.
Anyway, so are you PhD scholar or just?
Sir, I have completed my PhD, sir, from DIPSRU itself.
Sure. Good.
Thank you, sir.
Avneet, I
yes,
have a question with the slide which is now projected.
Yes.
You seem to say that among the prepared analog compounds 3P, 3D, 3L, and 3M showed significant anti-inflammatory and ulcerogenic activity. Is it not conflicting? Anti-inflammatory and anti-ulcerogenic. That's what I would like the compound to do.
Okay. Anti-ulcerogenic. Okay, sir.
Isn't it? Am I not right?
Yes, sir. You are right, sir.
It is ulceration that leads to inflammation.
Anti-inflammatory and
it must be anti-ulcerogenic and ulcerogenic. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Right.
But if okay, yeah, you can more clarify. But if after anti you have put hyphen,
yes, sir,
it can be read for the both words.
Both, yeah.
Okay, sir.
Very correct. So
okay, the next speaker.
Okay.
Thank you, Avneet. So you can stop sharing your screen. So next candidate is Mangaldeep. Mangaldeep, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, share your screen.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Is it visible, sir?
Not yet. It will take little bit time. Just wait.
दो बार click करो screen, please. Double click and okay. It will take some buffering time.
Yes, it will take little.
Okay. So Kishan, you finish your dinner in between supper.
I left for some trouble with my family, my children, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is the problem with webinar. We have family living and the job.
Yes, Christmas celebration and weekends, long holidays. So if Mangaldeep, you are not able to share, I think Anup, you have a repository of all presentations. So you can.
Yes, just one. Mangaldeep, you stop it and share it again.
Okay, sir. I'm trying, sir.
Try kar lo bhaiya.
Or we can move to next candidate, Pooja.
Pooja Singh.
Pooja, are you there? Mangaldeep, okay. So you can share your screen.
Okay, sir.
Mangaldeep, आप बाद में आ जाना.
Mangaldeep, you just wait.
No problem. You in the meanwhile, maybe connection problem. Otherwise, organizing team can make his presentation.
Yes,
they have shared with us. So
sure.
In the end, if it is not successful, you can do on their behalf. Okay.
Sure, sir.
Pooja, you फिर इसको करना पड़ेगा मंगलदीप को बाहर.
Mangaldeep, you stop sharing, and Pooja, you share your screen. Mangaldeep, you stop sharing. Pooja, are you able to share your screen?
Sir, my screen is already shared. I have already shared my screen. Even it is visible also.
Dr. Anoop's screen is visible. It is visible.
Okay. Rasuddin sir, it's visible to you?
Not to me.
No, not to
yes. So Pooja, you stop sharing and share it again. Not issue.
आप एक बार अभी Mangaldeep is still showing.
Mangaldeep should exit first.
Yes,
Mangaldeep should exit.
Mangaldeep थोड़ी देर कर लो, leave कर लो, and then yeah.
Yes. Now Pooja, you share your screen and unmute yourself. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's visible to me.
Your presentation is visible. Quinoline. Okay.
Yes, Pooja, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am Pooja Singh from Department of Pharmacology and Toxicology, NIPER, Raebareli. Today, I am going to present my work that is on quinoline derivatives as a possible lead compound against novel SARS-CoV-2. Coronavirus disease 2019, that is COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by virus named as severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 2. We know everything about SARS-CoV-2 and nothing about it. We can read every one of an average 29,903 letters in its genome and know how exactly it reads for 15 genes are transcribed into instructions to make which protein. Coronavirus is a positive sense single-strand RNA genome, size of approximately 27 to 34 kb. The study was aimed to screen new therapeutic candidates by performing high-throughput screening of different quinoline derivatives against spike protein, spike ACE2 complex, and transmembrane protease serine 2. Firstly, I'm going to brief about the genomic structure of COVID virus. It contained at least 6 open reading frames. The first ORF, that is open reading frame, is 1A and B located at the 5' and encodes for polyprotein A and B, while other are located at 3' and encodes for structural proteins. The methodology we performed in this study was, initially we have selected a library of compounds using PubChem database and screened 25,000 compounds on the basis of Lipinski rule of 5. After primary screening, we got 1,000 molecules which are fulfilling all the criteria of Lipinski rule. In the next stage of screening, we performed molecular docking study and selected 30 molecules which showed highest binding energy against the targeted protein. Further, we performed the pharmacokinetic profiling of screened compounds and we got 5 promising ligands. These are the softwares which we have used in our study. All the softwares are freely available except the Schrödinger. Protein targets. These are the 3 protein targets which we have selected for our study from Research Collaborator for Structural Bioinformatics Protein Data Bank. Now I'm going to discuss the results which we got from this study. Structural validation of targeted proteins. We have first performed the structural validation of all 3 selected targeted proteins. Structural validation is the process of evaluating reliability for 3-dimensional atomic model of protein. These are the Ramachandra plot for all the 3 proteins. The red region represents the most favored region and the spike ACE2 complex have 90.2% of the residue are resides in the most favored region. The yellow, dark yellow region represents the additionally favored region in which the spike protein contains 15.4% of residue. The light yellow region represents the generously favored region, and the white region represents the disallowed region in which the spike protein doesn't contain any of the residue in the disallowed region. Next, we check the residual frustration analysis in all the targeted protein. Residual frustration analysis significantly shows that, whether or not a contact in between amino acid residues in the folded form is energetically optimal. The connection between the residues that are energetically beneficial are just mildly frustrated, although extremely frustrated interactions are energetically unfavorable in its natural form. The value of frustration index varies from -0.2 to +2.5. The protein 6VW1 have 18% of residues in highly frustrated region, while 18% of residue in minimum frustrated region. For the protein 6VSB, the 8% residues are highly frustrated, while the 21% residues are under minimum frustration range. For transmembrane protease serine, 13% residues are highly frustrated, while 21% of residues are minimally frustrated. The green region represents the minimally frustrated region, while the red region represents the highly frustrated region. Molecular docking results. We docked 1,000 molecules for each targeted protein. These are the molecules which showed the highest binding energy with spike protein, ACE2 complex, and transmembrane proteins. After docking study, we performed the pharmacokinetic profiling and we got the 5 promising ligands which are clearing all the parameters. And this is the different criteria which is mentioned in the table. These are below are the 5 structures of the compounds which are shown the highest binding energy with all the 3 targeted proteins. This is the 2D and 3D interaction of 54360-710. This is the PubChem ID of the ligand, which shows the highest binding energy to all the selected proteins. For PDB ID, the ligand efficiency is for protein 6VW1, the ligand efficiency is 0.396. For 6VSB, that is ACE2 spike complex, the ligand efficiency is 0.34. And for transmembrane protease protein, the ligand efficiency is 0.34. The major interactions are hydrogen bond and van der Waals contact, as these are the most important contributors for protein ligand interaction. For spike protein, ASN A394 and PHE A390 amino acids are mainly responsible for conventional hydrogen bonding. Molecular dynamic simulation. This is the interaction of 54360-710 with the transmembrane protease serine 2 protein. To understand, we have performed the molecular dynamic studies to understand the time-dependent interaction and stability of the ligand receptor complex with molecular dynamics was performed. The binding stability of the ligand receptor complex was studied for the duration of 10 nanoseconds to check its stability with the protein. The root mean square deviation for protein value was observed in the range of 0.25 to 0.45 nanometer for initially 4 nanoseconds, and for remaining 6 nanosecond period of the time, it was found to be stabilized in the range of 0.44 to 0.62 nanoseconds with an average value of 0.52. The ligand fit plot analysis was initially for 1 nanosecond, and there was a slight increase in the root mean square deviation value was observed, whether after the graph showed the consistency in the range of 1.1 to 1.4 nanometer over a period of simulation. This suggested that the ligand has changed some contact point with the receptor active in initial time frame. The root mean square fluctuation for the protein was value at active site is below 0.5 nanometer. The hydrogen bond contact map shows that 4 hydrogen bonds were observed between the ligand and the receptor. The radius of gyration and SAS plot for the protein was observed in the range. This is the dynamic results of 54360-710 ligand with 6VSB protein, that is spike and ACE complex. In this, the root mean square deviation for protein and the ligand value was observed increasingly for initially 1 nanosecond, then stabilized in the range of 0.42 to 0.6 nanometer for remaining period of simulation. The ligand fit plot analysis for initially 1 nanosecond, there was a slight increase in the RMSD value was observed, whereas after that, the graph showed the consistency in the range of 1.1 to 1.4 nanometer over a period of simulation. This suggested that the ligand has changed some contact point with the receptor active site in initial time frame, and then those contacts were constant over the time period of simulation. The ligand fit ligand RMSD was observed in an acceptable range of 0.02 to 0.4 nanometer. The root mean square fluctuation is also below 0.5 nanometer. The hydrogen bond contact map shows 5 hydrogen bonds in which the 2 hydrogen bonds are continuously established during the entire simulation period. The RMSD and radius of gyration and SAS plots are also observed in the range.
Please conclude.
This is the last interaction of the ligand with 6VW1, in which the simulation period is 0.3 to 0.5 nanometer in the entire simulation. The hydrogen bond contact map shows that 2 hydrogen bonds formed in 1 bond was consistent for maximum period of time.
Pooja, last minute, please conclude.
Conclusion and future. The conclusion of the study that inhibition of all the 3 targeted proteins that are transmembrane protease serine, viral spike, and ACE2 complex by single molecule may provide greater benefit in both prevention of new host infection as well as decrease in the dissemination of viral particles within the host. Overall, the computational prediction proposed that the 543607110 could be leading candidate with a high potential for further development as a novel therapeutic approach for inhibiting coronavirus. For a future perspective, we are going to screen selected compound against new mutant viral form of COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja. So over to you, sir.
Yeah.
President, sir.
I think what I understand, can you explain you mentioned about novel. So how do you call your compound novel or derivatives novel?
These all are the compounds which are derivatives, as like they are the analogs. Initially, the parent compound is the chloroquine, but from that we have selected the derivatives only. Those are not like till now they haven't studied for any of the activities. They are the new molecules which are synthesized and presented in the PubChem database. PubChem database. Yes, sir.
Are they meeting the Lipinski rule?
Yes, sir. The first criteria of our screening is that we have selected, we have created 25,000 compounds from PubChem database only. And after the screening, we got 1,000 molecules. And the initial screening criteria is Lipinski rule of 5 only.
About bioavailability?
Yes, sir.
Bioavailability, comparative bioavailability. Have you done? Virtually or using some test bioavailability of the compound?
Yes, sir, we have performed the pharmacokinetic profiling, and from that only we get that the bioavailability of all the compounds are very good. From ADMET parameters, we have used different software for pharmacokinetic profiling. One of them is SwissADME. From that only we got that the compounds which we are screened has a good bioavailability and log p value. Even in this log p value is shown.
Okay.
As they are a good solubility and have good prominent bioavailability also, sir. They have GIT absorption.
Okay. Now, if any questions are there by other
Dr. Christian?
Yes.
You have any question?
For the presentation, to be honest, it's a little bit far from my expertise. It just made me think to a presentation I assisted last week from a Switzerland company, Epitelix, who is doing 3D model of bronchial tissues. And he demonstrated, he showed how these 3D models were useful to study the COVID infection in order to understand, to decipher the mechanism, and also after to test some drugs. So maybe in the future, for your selected compound could be a good model to assess the efficiency of the effect.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. I will jot it down. This will be an addition in the project only.
Perfect.
Okay. So any other question, Akbar Shah, sir? Unmute yourself, sir.
Sorry about it. So you have been claiming that the novel molecule which you found is able to interact with 3 different targets,
yes, sir.
proteins or molecules. Now, are they using the same ligand or different ligands in the drug candidate molecule?
Actually, the thing is that when we after Lipinski rule of 5, we got 1,000 molecules, and we docked those 1,000 molecules to all the 3 targeted. Like we performed the docking study for 3,000 times. Okay, and from that only we got that, which is the in the conclusion I have shown that the ligand, that is 54360710, that is the ligand which docked with all the 3 proteins and have highest binding energy. Even that clears the Lipinski rule of 5, and it is prominent come out from the pharmacokinetic profiling. So this is the molecule which is docking with all the proteins and showing like even it showed highest ligand efficiency also, that compound.
Still, I'm not convinced about one molecule binding with the 3 different target proteins, which are very different molecularly. The targets are very different, right? And can I say that your molecule is non-specific? If I say that, how will you defend?
Getting some non-specific means
in the sense it can bind with anything that it comes across, like, right? I mean, theoretically, you have not done any hands-on experiment. You have done only derivatization. You have done only bioinformatics tool application, and you have found that it can potentially bind with the 3 different target proteins. And how theoretically, how do you think it is really possible to? I mean, that is what I call it non-specific. It can bind with anything that it comes across.
Might be it is, but we have performed the specific binding.
I don't question your methodology. I am asking you a theoretical question. How could there be a drug molecule that associates with 3 different targets? Is it a good molecule potentially? I don't want to disturb you. Now you are a student, and I do not want to burden with you with very critical questions. I'm just trying to find out if you can make a difference. That's all. Because you are a candidate for prize, and we evaluate whether you deserve it. That's it, right? We ask. We even ask irrelevant questions. You should be able to answer, right? Okay. Bye. Okay. I have done. I'm done.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. So we are moving to next candidate. Vishal, are you there?
Yeah.
Yes. Share your screen. Yes.
Make it visible, sir?
Yes, it's visible to me, and I hope visible to others also.
Yeah.
You make it full screen and go ahead.
Okay, sir. Good evening to all. This is Vishal Kumar, currently working as a junior research fellow in Division of Neuroscience, Department of Pharmacology, ISF College of Pharmacy. This is my M.Pharm project birth and title, Effect of Hydroalcoholic Extract of Centella asiatica on 3-nitropropionic acid-induced Huntington's-like symptoms in adult zebrafish. These are the contents. Huntington disease describe that it is an inherited neurodegenerative disease characterized by the increasing development of involuntary muscle movement, dancing chorea, psychiatric and behavioral disturbances, followed by bradykinesia, cognitive decline, and anxiety. As we know that there is a the exact causative mechanism of Huntington disease is still unknown, but it is believed that the CAG triplet expansion, if more than 36, it could be a reason of Huntington disease. So we use zebrafish as an experimental animal and 3-NPA as a neurotoxin. HSCA is an antioxidant drug that we have targeted in this project. My aim with this study is to establish and validate the model of 3-nitropropionic acid-induced Huntington's disease in adult zebrafish and investigate the effect of hydroalcoholic extract of Centella asiatica. These are my objectives: to establish and validate the preclinical model of 3-NP in adult zebrafish. Material, we have taken 96 zebrafishes and divided into different groups. We have purchased it from the Kolkata and subjected to a light and dark cycle 14 by 10 hours respectively, and maintain the temperature with the help of thermostat at 26 to 27 degrees centigrade. These are the grouping of animals. We have divided all the animals into 8 groups, that is normal, toxin, standard drug, and HACL low and high alone, and in with 3-NP. This is plan of work. 3-NP is administered on every 4th day at a dose of 5 mg per kg through IP route in adult zebrafish, while HACL low and high dose given by oral route on every day up to 28 days. While behavioral parameters we have performed before every injection on 4th day and day 29, we have sacrificed the fishes and separate out the brain for biochemical parameters, inflammatory markers, and histopathological examination. Results. These are the results of body weight. As we can see that on day 4, 3-NP treated group significantly reduce the body weight of adult zebrafish as compared to control group, while HACL low and high dose treated group significantly increase the body weight as compared to 3-NP treated group, followed by day 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and 28 days. All the results are expressed in a SD and mean. And the results are calculated by the stat were represented by the GraphPad Prism software. And these are the results of behavioral parameter. So we have done 3 behavioral parameters. First is a light and dark tank test. Second is a novel diving tank test, and third is a open field test. So in a light and dark tank test, we have measured 3 activities. First is the time spent in light zone, and second is the time spent in dark zone, and the entries in a light zone. So these are the result of time spent in light zone. As we can see that 3-NP treated group significantly reduce the time spent in light zone as compared to control group, while HACL low and high dose treated group significantly increase the time spent in light zone as compared to 3-NP treated group, followed by day 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and 28 days. This is the result of time spent in dark zone. As we can see that the 3-NP treated group significantly increase the time spent in dark zone as compared to control group, while HACL low and high dose treated group significantly reduce the time spent in dark zone as compared to control 3-NP treated group, followed by day 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and 28 days. These are this is our total entries in a light zone. So we can say that 3-NP treated group significantly reduce the total entries in a light zone as compared to control group, while HACL low and high dose treated group significantly increase the time spent in a significantly increase the total entries in light zone as compared to 3-NP treated group, followed by day 8, day 12, day 16, day 20, day 24, and day 28. This is the result of novel diving tank test. We have evaluated these results with the help of Animaze software. So we can see that the normal fish, normally the normal fish spend more time in a upper zone as compared to rather than bottom zone. But in case of 3-NP treated group, the fishes spend more time in a bottom zone rather than top zone. But in HACL treated group, low and high dose treated group, significantly the time spent in a top zone significantly increase as compared to 3-NP treated group. And this is the time spent in top zone. We have divided novel diving tank test into 2 parts. First one is a top zone and another one is a dark, bottom zone. So these are the time spent in top zone. 3-NP treated group significantly increase the 3-NP treated group significantly decrease the time spent in top zone as compared to control group, while HACL low and high dose treated group significantly increase the time spent in top zone as compared to 3-NP treated group, followed by day 8, day 12, day 16, day 20, day 24, and day 28. This is the time spent in bottom zone. As we can see that 3-NP treated group significantly increase the time spent in bottom zone as compared to control group, while low and high dose treated group significantly reduce the time spent in bottom zone as compared to 3-NP treated group, followed by day 4, day 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and 28 days. And this is the result of and in the top zone. So we can see that 3-NP treated group significantly reduce the total entries in a top zone as compared to control group, while HSCA low and high dose treated group significantly increase the total entries in a top zone as compared to 3NP treated group, followed by day 4, day 8, day 12, day 16, 20, 24, and 28. And this is the last parameter we have done, open field test. In which we, through this parameter, we have measured or we have evaluated the locomotor activity of adult zebrafish and evaluated by the anime software. So you can see that 3NP treated group, there were less locomotor activity as compared to normal group, while 3NP, while HSCA low and high dose treated group have a significant locomotor activity as compared to 3NP treated group. In this parameter, we have evaluated two values. First is a distance travel and another is a maximum speed. So in distance travel, the 3NP treated group significantly reduce the distance travel as compared to control group, while HSCA low and high dose treated group significantly increase the distance travel as compared to 3NP treated group, followed by day 4, day 8, day 12, day 16, day 20, day 24, and day 28. And this is another parameter, which is the maximum speed. As we can see that 3NP treated group significantly reduce the speed of zebrafish as compared to control group, while HSCA low and high dose treated group significantly increase the speed of zebrafish as compared to 3NP treated group, followed by day 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and 28 days. We have also done biochemical estimation, that is LPO, nitrite, acetylcholinesterase, GSH, and GSH. So this is the result of LPO. 3NP treated group significantly increase the level of LPO, lipid peroxidation, as compared to control group, while HSCA low and high dose treated group significantly reduce the level of lipid peroxidation as compared to 3NP treated group. This is the result of nitrite level. So 3NP treated group significantly increase the level of nitrite as compared to control group, while HSCA low and high dose treated group significantly reduce the level of nitrite as compared to 3NP treated group. This is the result of acetylcholinesterase. So 3NP treated group significantly increase the level of acetylcholinesterase as compared to control group, while HSCA low and high dose treated group significantly reduce the level of acetylcholinesterase as compared to 3NP treated group.
Vishal, please conclude.
Yeah, sure, sir. We have also done inflammatory markers, that is TNF alpha, interleukin 1 beta, and we have also done the HE staining. As you can see that 3NP treated group shows damaged neuron as compared to control group, while HSCA low and high dose treated group significantly HSCA low and high dose prevent the degeneration of neurons in a striatum as compared to 3NP treated group. So this is a discussion part. We have seen 3NP treated group 3NP significantly reduce the body weight in adult zebrafish, followed by behavioral alteration, memory, and biochemical estimations. But HSCA increase the memory or decrease the memory impairments and decrease the anxiety and depression-like symptoms, and also decrease the level of TNF alpha and interleukin 1 beta. So the current study demonstrated that treatment with HSCA low and high dose significantly rescued 3NP-induced alteration in behavioral, biochemical, and inflammatory markers. HSCA revitalized antioxidant anti-inflammatory effect due to its neuroprotective effect. After administration of HSCA significantly reversed 3NP-induced neurodegeneration in the brain. Hence, it can be concluded that HSCA could be a promising therapeutic intervention against HD. These are references. This is my recent paper that published in a Exley journal with impact factor 4.06. This is another paper which is published in a current neuropharmacology Bentham Sciences with impact factor 7.5. And this is another paper that is published in Molecular Biology Reports, Springer, with impact factor of 2.3. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishal. So over to you, Rustin sir.
How do you expose your compound in the fish? I know that one place you mentioned that you gave IP dose, but in other case, you mix with water like that? What you did, your protective?
No, sir. The 3NP is a solid crystalline powder. So we have dissolved it into DMSO, 0.2% DMSO, and then inject through Hamilton syringe via anesthetizing the zebrafish.
Okay. So this is not Huntington. In fact, Huntington-like symptoms. Okay, Huntington-like disease because
yes.
Huntington.
Sir, we have established this model in our lab first time.
Okay.
So
what are the specific biomarkers? Are there any for this disease?
Sir, we can check CAG repeat expansion. If more than 36, it could be a possible reason for actually.
Genes are expressed in condition of such disease.
Sir, Huntington protein, it is responsible for HD.
So you studied that. You studied that, or you?
Yes, sir. This is my MPharm project work.
Okay. You mostly based on the behavioral aspects, okay?
Sir, we have also done histopathological analysis and biochemical followed by neuroinflammatory markers.
Okay. Sir, Bhagya Gupta sir is also there, so we are very happy to see you. And
good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Professor Gupta.
So I asked my questions if Professor Dr. Kishan and other panel members or audience or expert like to ask any question from him.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
The subject is of interest for me because 30 years ago, my PhD thesis was on an animal model of Huntington disease. So it makes sense for me. But at this time, I was using rats. My question is that have you got? I was working on dopaminergic neurons. Do you have such type of neurons in the striatum of zebrafish also? And my second question after is it a model that you developed in your lab, or is it a well-known model of Huntington disease?
Yeah.
So two questions.
Sir, actually, 3NP is a well-established neurotoxin for Huntington disease in rodents model. But in our lab, we have first time tried to establish this model in a zebrafish.
Good. That's very interesting. Yes, to transpose the rabbit model to the rodent model to the zebrafish. Yes, very good. And so they are also in the striatum of the zebrafish. You find some dopaminergic neurons as in the rodent?
Actually, sir, we have didn't study about the dopaminergic neurons during my study.
Okay, but there are some dopaminergic, I suppose.
Sir, actually, the exact part of brain that is striatum is responsible for the Huntington disease. In this part, the neurons has been degenerated. So that degeneration we have shown through the histopathology.
Okay, thank you.
Vishal, just one question.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, so you have shown the degeneration of dopaminergic neurons. So how you have identified that this is the dopaminergic neuron?
No,
and
sir.
B,
actually,
what is the percentage of dopaminergic neuron which you think have degenerated? Is this entire dopaminergic neuron degenerated? A part of that?
Sir, actually, we didn't separate the specific part because the brain of zebrafish is too small. So we have removed complete brain and then cut into sections and strain it. So it is not possible to specify that is dopaminergic or this is cholinergic neurons.
So then how will be the specificity that this is the dopaminergic neuron? Is there any way by which you could identify that this is the dopaminergic neuron degeneration? What is the histopathological feature which has, by which you have put this? Maybe
Sir,
Anup
actually, Sir, we have seen in as shown in 3 unpretreated group, we have this is the damaged neuron has been shown in a 3 unpretreated group as compared to control. In control group, it is a round shape. That's why we thought it is a neurodegeneration. And in a HACA treated group, it is normalize or prevent the damages.
Okay.
Very interesting. From my memory, in the striatum, it was the cholinergic neurons who were destroyed because the dopaminergic were coming from the nigrostriata. But what we use, it was a receptor binding, in fact. So maybe in the future, you can envisage to have some specific receptor, dopaminergic receptor binding with to characterize the presence or not of this axonal termination. But it's a good job.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay, if any other question? If there is no question, so thank you, Vishal. You stop sharing.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Next candidate is Simranjeet. And I request Dr. Sachin to moderate the session further.
Should I share my screen?
Simran, please share your screen. Thank you, Dr.
Yes, sir. Okay, I'm sharing, sir.
Okay, Simran, your screen is visible. Please start with the beginning. Okay.
First slide.
Sir, is my screen visible?
Visible hai, madam, but go to the first slide. It's visible. Visible hai. Please go to the first slide, home slide.
Simran, your voice is breaking. Can you come to in a better connectivity area so that you can present effectively?
Yes, sir.
I think we have lost her. If jury member permits, we can move to the next candidate and we can take the Simranjeet presentation in the last.
Yes, please.
Okay. Deepali, are you available?
Yes.
Please share your screen.
Sure, sir. Is it visible, sir?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, sir.
Can we have it in the presentation mode?
Yes, sir, sure. Give a minute.
All right, please go ahead. You have 10 minutes.
Okay, sir. Good evening, respected researchers and research scholars. Myself, Dipali Sharma, pursuing M.Pharm in Pharmacology in ISF College of Pharmacy, Moga. And as the title of the conference suggests, that it is an alternative to animals and in experimental models. And by this, my title of the study suits well. That is, effects of quercetin on streptozocin-induced memory dysfunction in adult zebrafish. Wait a minute.
Next slide, Can you show the next slide? Okay.
Yes, sir. So here we have the contents of the presentation. Sir, I'm having problem in pursuing slides. Maybe it's YouTube connectivity.
You can try by switching off your video.
Next slide is visible.
Okay, sir. Okay. Yeah.
It is moving too fast, Dipali.
Yes, sir. I'm just. Sir?
Yes, Dipali.
If you don't have any problem, may I show it in this mode only?
Okay, what you can do is you can
Sure. This is also fine. It is visible.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Dipali, this presentation is for how long? How much duration?
10 minutes.
It's for 10 minutes. Yes, sir.
And how many slides? I saw you 27, 28 slides.
No, sir. I will try to conclude it within 9 minutes. Okay,
normally, if less number of slides are there, it is better. But anyway, please.
Okay, sir.
Sure, go ahead.
So here we have the introduction part. So what is dementia? Dementia is a group of symptoms that affects memory, thinking, and objective decline. And commonly, it is common in an older group, that is 60 and above. Approx 1 crore people per year suffer from it in India. And the common symptoms are sleep problems and mood changes. And it is reported that decreased level of cerebral glucose utilization, which ranges from 10% to 40%, is reported in memory dysfunctions. And impaired insulin receptor signal transduction has been also reported in the hippocampus region for memory dysfunction. And other reasons are here, that is impaired insulin signaling. And here is the objective of the study. The objective is to induce experimental model of dementia in adult zebrafish by IP injection of STZ, that is streptozocin. And another objective is to study the effect of quercetin on streptozocin-induced neurobehavioral and biochemical alterations. Here we have the protocol of the study, and we have pre-treated the zebrafish, adult zebrafish, with galantamine, that is a standard drug, and the protocol drug is quercetin. And we have taken 2 doses of quercetin, that is 50 mg per kg and 100 mg per kg. And after 2 days, we have given streptozocin, that is toxin, 300 mg per kg. And after 24 hours, glucose measurement is being done, and other biochemicals and behavioral parameters are being done. Here is the experimental grouping. We have total 9 groups and taken 12 fishes in each group. And proceeding to the result part, here we can see that effect of quercetin treatment on blood glucose in streptozocin-treated zebrafish. And in this, we can clearly see that streptozocin-treated group, that is toxin group, is significantly increase in the level of glucose when compared to the normal one. And in quercetin-treated group, there is a significant decrease in glucose level when we compare with the toxin one. Here we have the quercetin prevented STZ-induced memory deficit, and we have checked via T-maze apparatus. And here we can see that the time spent in febrile zone is significantly decreased in streptozotocin treated group, while it is significantly increased in quercetin treated group of both the doses. Here we have again the T-maze apparatus test, and in this, time spent in unfebrile zone is reversed, and the time spent in unfebrile zone is significantly increased in streptozotocin treated group, whereas time spent in unfebrile zone is significantly decreased in quercetin treated group. Here is the time latency. And another graph shows the light dark chamber test. And here we can see in figure A, time spent in light zone is significantly decreased in streptozotocin treated group, whereas time spent in light zone is significantly increased in quercetin treated group. And in another one, the time spent in dark zone is significantly increased in streptozotocin treated group, and time spent in this zone is significantly decreased in quercetin treated group. Here we have the novel diving test, and as we all know that the fish likes to move in upper zone when it is in normal condition, but here we can see that the time spent in top zone is significantly decreased in streptozotocin treated group, whereas the time spent in top zone is significantly increased in quercetin treated group, which shows the normal behavior of the fish. Here again, number of entries. Here we have the plot chart which is measured by our Animaze software. It is a track plot. And here we can see in normal group, the fish covers both the part, explore both the part, both the upper part and the lower part completely. But in streptozotocin treated group, the fish moves more in the lower part, which shows the abnormal behavior of the fish. And in quercetin treated group, the fish shows the resembling behavior, resembling movement or swimming pattern, which is resembled to the normal one. And in a streptozotocin treated group with the quercetin pre-treatment, here we can see the time spent in upper part is more. And in again quercetin 100 treated group, the time spent or we can see that track plot is significantly increased in upper zone. Here are the some distance travel in exploratory assessment, and there is no significant changes. Here. And it is the quercetin treatment group that shows the oxidative stress markers, that is LPO, and we can see that significantly the LPO level is significantly increased in streptozotocin treated group when compared to the normal one, and in quercetin treated group, the LPO level is significantly decreased, which shows the antioxidant property of quercetin. Here is the glutathione S transferase level, and same results are predicted here. And here we have measured the acetylcholine esterase level, and in this we can see that there is a significant increase in streptozotocin treated group when compared to the normal one, and the level of ACH enzyme is significantly decreased in quercetin treated group of both doses when compared to the streptozotocin treated group. And here we have checked the biomarkers TNF alpha. Here is the histopathological imaging, and in here we can see that in normal control group the neurons are intact, but in a streptozotocin treated group we can see that neurodegeneration is seen. And in quercetin treated group, we can see that the prevention of neurons is being done and prevented, and the prevention of the neurons is done. Moving to the discussion part, we can see that the STZ causes cognitive impairment, while quercetin protects all the alterations and shows.
Dipali, you have last 2 minutes.
Okay, sir. Okay. And here with the discussion part, we can see that streptozocin causes cognitive impairment via behavioral parameters, biochemical parameters, and molecular estimation, whereas quercetin, that is an antioxidant, shows protective action in all of the parameters. Here we have the conclusion. The finding from present study highlighted the pharmacological justification for use of quercetin for streptozocin-induced memory dysfunction. STZ is reported to cause hyperglycemia, oxidative stress, neuronal damage that ultimately leads to memory deficit. Therefore, neuroprotective effect of quercetin may be attributed to its attenuation of neuroinflammation, oxidative stress, and cognitive deficit induced by STZ. Here are the references. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dipali. I request the jury members to, the session is open for questions.
I have one question, maybe one remark. Maybe you gave the answer in the conclusion, but during all your presentation, I was asking me why you use STZ to induce this symptom and the rationale to use this drug. And I have a remark also. I think that it's very smart to use to develop neuronal disease on zebrafish, but the point of characterization of it is very important. And maybe you should take more time in the beginning just to explain how you can prove that it's a model of dementia rather than maybe Huntington or something like this.
Okay, sir. Sir, for proving that dementia is caused, we have some behavioral parameters, that is T-maze. And in T-maze apparatus, we have one favorable zone and unfavorable zone. And in favorable zone, there is something food or reward. And we first make the fish to be learned that it have to move there. But after some period of time, we didn't put any reward there. And via this mechanism, we could conclude that fish has lost its memory.
Okay. Okay. Important, this characterization, I think. That's good.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So I think 2-3 presentation I'm seeing that from your laboratory.
Yes, sir.
How it's very, sometime I have a chance to work on fish for some time. So these behavioral parameters in fish in particular, like slightly different from what we observed in mouse or rat model. And there is overlapping of behavioral conduct. And acetylcholinesterase inhibitor you selected. It's
yes, sir. Galactobacter.
Yes, marker. It doesn't mean that in every neurotoxicity is dementia. No, dementia is certain different types of etiology, and neurotoxicity not all the time dementia. It's different dimensions. So how you will distinguish, because it's a non-specific, though specific to certain exposures of organophosphate and other type of toxic chemicals, with ACE inhibition, acetylcholine, but how you will correlate with dementia and neurotoxicity, because it is not possible that every time neurotoxicity will lead to dementia. How you will defend your this objection or my query and doubt?
Okay, sir. Sir, in neurotoxicity, there may be other changes also, which we haven't measured. But as we say that acetylcholinesterase enzyme is a prominent marker for dementia, that is responsible for acetylcholine, that is responsible for the memory. So we have measured that. And
I say that it is not only dementia, it's for any toxicity. Organophosphate insecticide cause their toxicity.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Affect this. So it's not memory. All the time dementia You got my point that organophosphate, acetylcholine inhibitor is a general biomarker of neurotoxicity.
Okay, sir.
So
okay.
How you will correlate that it is because of dementia it is being caused? What are the specific dementia markers you have studied? Because you expose your fish for a very short duration.
Yes,
though zebrafish life cycle is also short.
Very short, yes, sir.
But it can live more than 6 months or like that.
Yes, sir.
And
sir, in our study, we have concluded
has anybody established quercetin effect of quercetin on this kind of parameter in rats and mouse? Rats and mice. किसी ने किया? Quercetin तो बहुत पुराना chemical है.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thousands of paper, hundreds of paper have come, including this aspect.
Yes, sir.
So what is the value addition of your research in the understanding of effect of quercetin or action of quercetin?
Okay, sir. So we have taken it.
I tested it in fish and others tested in rat model. So alternatives are not always, alternatives are there to resolve some certain unresolved issues, and where animal experimentation is not possible, interventions are not possible, or you have limited time. So you did. But quercetin is already known for the effects which you have reported. So how distinguished is your own research? Because you selected the parameters which are also possible to do in rats and mice. So what was the actual intention?
Okay, sir.
हमारी बात आप समझ गई?
हाँ जी, सर.
आप quercetin का, I'm sorry, Christian, I'm speaking to him in native language. अगर quercetin का इफेक्ट पता ही था rat mouse में, तो zebrafish में हमने क्यों किया?
Okay, sir. Okay.
I know that quercetin is known for the action which you have reported.
Yes, sir.
Rats and mouse, even from our department, if you see research papers of Islam F, you will find many papers. They have worked on fish, the rat and mouse model, almost same kind of parameters and effects. So zebrafish में क्या unique raga, which is not possible to do it in rats and mouse. Our alternative should be based on this hypothesis also. है ना madam? बताइए, what do you feel? Or it is the first time that you are reporting dementia in fish?
Yes, sir. It is the first time we are reporting dementia in zebrafish. So we have taken the drug.
Sure, थोड़ा सा read my papers.
So we.
चलिए ठीक है, but always as you are enthusiastic, we appreciated your enthusiasm and we like you to work on zebrafish. But also at the same time, it's just humble suggestion that also it should not be like that it has been done in mouse and rat model. Now I will do in zebra model, because at the end of the day, the genome of humans and rats and fish, zebrafish or any other fish, zebrafish, full genome is already coded for zebrafish. It is all decoded rather, yes, like sir. Human genome. Zebrafish is also known. There are 3-4 fish models for which the whole genome has been decoded. Zebrafish is one. That one is Japanese Medaka. The third one is fugu fish. So it is known. So ऐसा कोई, but I may just suggestion that select something which is unique, so okay, that you can say that I use this alternative model. So it is unique model, which is unique parameter. I would just like Dr. Gupta ji and other jury members comment on this, please. Sir.
Yeah.
Over to other members. So I was just suggesting you. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So I agree with the comments of Professor Raisuddin. It has been like a repetitive work which has been already done in other animal models and taken up, of course, the novelty is that it has been done in the zebrafish.
Yes,
but we are not sure if what is induced is really memory loss or dementia.
Dr. Bashar, sir, you are muted again.
Sorry. Yeah. So you are talking about the issues like hyperglycemia, oxidative stress, and neurodegeneration.
Yes, sir.
And how these three different pathological manifestations get correlated with therapy using quercetin.
Okay, sir. Sir,
it's not very specific. Your approach is not very targeted and very specific. We don't criticize. We don't want to criticize your study because after all, it's several months of research. But you should be very focused, right?
Okay, sir. Okay.
So that's a suggestion for you for the future research.
Okay. Thank you for the suggestion, sir.
We want to promote you to use zebrafish. Fine, that's not the issue. But also, you should know that why I am using this model. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
I think next, Dr. Patil, you have something to say?
No,
we are running short of time.
Candidate is over. We can shift to next candidate. Two candidates, Simranjeet and Mangaldeep, where they're having problems in presenting the PPTs. We have got their recorded presentations with us. So if juries allow, we will play their recorded presentations.
Yeah, please play it.
Okay. And then we can ask them to answer. They are there in the meeting.
Please play on their behalf.
Yeah, we are playing it on their behalf. Please wait.
Sound, no sound. Maybe.
Yeah, we're trying for that. We're uploaded from another system. Okay, or if the candidate is there already. Hello. Is Mangaldeep present in this meeting?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mangaldeep, your presentation will run. You please
start. This is Simranjeet.
Simranjeet. Yes. Simranjeet, you have to start your presentation immediately, please.
Good evening, one and all present here. Myself Simran from ISF College of Pharmacy, pursuing MPharm under the guidance of Dr. R.T. Singh. And the title of the study is Effect of Hydrocolloic Extract of Centella asiatica on the acrylamide-induced neurotoxicity in adult zebrafish. So, how does acrylamide get exposed to human? The main sources of acrylamide exposure in humans are basically highly processed food, then inhalation from tobacco smoke, and then some part from cosmetics. So, acrylamide upon entering the body has tendency to cause toxicity in both central nervous system and peripheral nervous system, which could be the possible mechanism lying behind the various diseases. So how does acrylamide form? Acrylamide is formed when carbohydrate-rich food containing asparagine cooked with reducing sugars in the presence of high temperature, it gets converted into acrylamide. And this reaction is known as Millard's reaction, which is Millard's reaction, which is basically responsible for the aroma, taste, and texture of the food. So upon entering the body, it can initiate the release of various pro-inflammatory cytokines, ROS like species, and these species having tendency to cross the blood-brain barrier will reach to the brain, and there it brings the cytokine storm, resulting into neuroinflammation. And the ROS species produced will make the mitochondria under the oxidative stress initiate, increasing the level of various biomarkers such as LPO and decreasing the level of antioxidant, as the presence amount of antioxidant is not able to counteract the stress being created by the raw species, and leading to mitochondrial damages and leading to apoptosis and neuronal cell death. So the objective of the study was to validate an experimental model of neurotoxicity in adult zebrafish. The material and method used here were that it was total of 7-day studies. From day 1, we have performed behavioral tests, and from day 2 to 4, we have given acrylamide, and from day 5 to 7, we have given treatment doses in 2 different doses, 10 mg and 20 mg, and on that we have performed behavioral tests, biochemical and cytokine, and then histopathological analysis. The experimental grouping was divided into 4 groups: normal, ACR, ACR plus HSCA 10 mg dose, and ACR plus HSCA 20 mg dose for 3 days. So these are the results of novel diving tank. These are the track plot results. Here we can see that the normal fish explores more the top zone as compared to the bottom zone. And after giving the acrylamide, the fish suffers from behavioral changes as it tends to spend more time in the bottom zone and does not explore the it tends to spend more time in the bottom zone as it doesn't explore the top zone. And after giving the treatment, that it tends to restore the normal activity of zebrafish, and the 20 mg dose is more good as it is better in graph plot resemblance between normal and 20 mg dose. These are the graph plot results indicating the significant difference in time spent by acrylamide induced zebrafish in top zone as compared to control, and the restoration of the activity after giving the treatment. And 20 mg dose is giving better results as compared to the 10 mg. And same, the results of time spent in bottom zone is vice versa, as now the fish spends more time in bottom zone. These are the results of LIDAR compartment test. In the normal fish spends more time in light zone as it's the normal activity of human behavior also. So here the fish spends more time in the dark zone comparatively to the control group, and the treatment group is capable of restoring the normal activities. These are the track plot results of open field test. The normal fish has a tendency to explore more as it tends to cover all the area of the open field. But there are behavioral changes in the acrylamide fish, which may be due to the difficulty in neuronal communication due to acrylamide-induced toxicity, as it brings out disruption of normal behavior in zebrafish, and the treatment tends to restore these activities. And here again, the graph plot resemblance of normal and 20 mg dose are more. So 20 mg is giving more good results as compared to the 10 mg dose. So these are the result of T-maze. It is also one kind of parameter for zebrafish in which we divide the T-maze into 2 zones, favorable and unfavorable. So the one fish with the normal, it spends more time in the normal zone, and the fish with acrylamide significantly spends less time in the favorable zone, and vice versa for the unfavorable zone. And by giving the treatment, there is a restoration of the behavioral activity.
Hello, you are not audible again. You are not audible. Please check. Simranjit, you are not audible.
Simran, please unmute yourself.
No.
Looks like some network issue at her end.
I think she's having some network issues. She tried a couple of times, but it did not work for her. Okay. Hello, Simranjit. No, you're not audible. Okay. I think if Simranjit joins back again, and if she is able to hear us, we will be asking her questions. And then I think I will have to shift to the next candidate. We cannot keep on dragging this session too much. Already we have spent more than 45 minutes extra. So I am requesting now, Mangaldeep, are you there in the meeting, Mr. Mangaldeep?
Yes, sir. I am here,
yeah,
sir.
Please. We are running your presentation. You have to tell the details in as minimum time as possible, because we are already 1 hour late, almost 1 hour late. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Please. We are running your presentation in the background. Hope this is visible to you.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so very good evening to everyone. I'm Mangaldeep Dey, PhD scholar in the Department of Pharmacology and Toxicology, Nagpur, Raebareli. Going to present the topic titled quercetin and alpha lipoic acid amyloids molecular and functional markers in C6 cells exposed to aluminum chloride. Coming to the introduction, we know that aluminum is the third most abundant metal present on the Earth crust. The exposure of aluminum mainly occurs to the drinking water, food, and air. And the toxicity of aluminum arises due to excessive use of aluminum containing food additive, antacids, perspirants, antiperspirant agents, and aluminum containing vaccines, parenteral agents, and aluminum containing utensils that is used for cooking purposes. And the very less amount of aluminum is absorbed from the intestine, and it goes to the blood-brain barrier via the binding with transferrin receptor. And long-time aluminum storage in the brain causes the various neurodegenerative disorders, including Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, dialysis, encephalopathy, and multiple sclerosis. So coming to the drug mechanistic pathway for neurotoxicity of aluminum. So aluminum for long time present in brain causes the bimetal deshomeostasis.
Mangaldeep, again I am intervening here. You please tell about the study that you have performed.
Yes,
and your results. We need that now. Please.
We expose the C6 glial cells with aluminum chloride for 24 hours. After that, we have performed various neurotoxic parameters. And first, we have performed MTT assay to find out the dose of aluminum, the toxic dose of aluminum. We have found out that the above 1 millimolar dose, aluminum chloride was toxic to the cells. So that's why we have taken 500 micromolar dose for further studies. Again, we have checked the various functional markers, that is A beta tau, and A beta and tau level was increased by aluminum chloride. Also, acetylcholinesterase level was dose dependently increased by exposure to aluminum chloride, and caspase-3 is the marker for execution of apoptosis. So, caspase-3 level was dose dependently increased after exposure to aluminum chloride. So, next slide, sir. And we have also checked the apoptosis in C6 cells after exposure to aluminum chloride. We have found out that the high dose of aluminum causes the apoptosis, and in higher dose, you can find that the most of the cells are present in the late apoptosis stage. Again, we have performed the pro-inflammatory cytokines, that is IL-6 and IL-1 beta. Both are dose dependently increased after aluminum exposure for 24 hours. Again, we have pre-treated the cells with alpha lipoic acid and quercetin, and we have found out that we have checked the A beta aggregation, and we have found out that after 72 hours, the A beta aggregation was maximum. Again, the pre-treatment with alpha lipoic acid and quercetin. Next slide, sir. Again, the pre-treatment with alpha lipoic acid and quercetin decreased the A beta aggregation level after 72 hours. And next slide, sir. And again, we have checked the caspase-3 activity, that is the apoptosis markers. And we have found out the treatment with alpha lipoic acid and quercetin alone and in combination decreased the caspase-3 activity, and also A beta level was decreased after treatment with alpha lipoic acid. Next, sir. So cytochrome C oxidase subunit 2 enzyme that is present in the mitochondria, it's activated mainly during the apoptosis. We have found out that the aluminum after pre-treatment, and we have found out that alpha lipoic acid and quercetin alone in combination decrease the cytochrome C oxidase level in the cell. And next is the effect of pro-inflammatory cytokines, that is pre-treatment with alpha lipoic acid and quercetin decrease the cytokine level, that is TNF alpha IL-6 markers, and TNF alpha and IL-6 marker alone and in combination. So in summary, in conclusion, we could say that the aluminum chloride exposure elevated the pro-inflammatory cytokines and functional markers such as acetylcholinesterase, A beta tau, and increased the apoptotic cell death and caspase-3 activity. So pre-treatment with quercetin and alpha lipoic acid alone and in combination reverse the elevated levels of pro-inflammatory and apoptotic markers. So for that work, I acknowledge the Department of Pharmaceuticals, Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizers, Government of India for financial support and providing proper infrastructure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mangaldeep. now I request juries to raise a couple of questions, and let's not instead of criticizing, let's evaluate the candidate, and let's we have to go ahead. We're having the next session waiting for us. So please.
Sorry, I have a question for, if I may, I have a question for Deepali.
Yes, sir.
What is the type of the cells you use? Is it human, animal, cancer cells?
Actually, that is the red glial cells, C6 cells, red glial cell line.
Which one? Which origin?
Rat.
Rats. Okay.
Yeah. Glial cells.
Yes.
Neuronal cells, glial cells.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
So the one candidate who was not able to complete, can we connect with her? No?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Simranjit.
Yes, sir.
Now we will not be able to run your presentation. Is it possible that in 2 minutes you can explain your study and let us go ahead, because we are giving you fourth chance now. Okay. And I feel no doubt we organizers are also learning from this, but still we expected that you students or you presenters also must have been in a proper place where network is means your connectivity is quite good. Okay, no problem. Don't get discouraged because of this. Yeah, your presentation was streamlined here. Now, within a couple of minutes, you please explain about your study, and then juries will be evaluating this, please.
Should I go first, sir? Sir, should I go for?
Quickly, you tell me, instead of presentation, as Dr. Patil is suggesting,
yes, sir, yes.
You explain your study, highlight, because in your group, one more person is working on Centella asiatica.
Yes, sir. Actually, yes, sir. Vishal sir is working on HD, and I have developed with the help of my senior, we have developed a model of neurotoxicity due to acrylamide. So, with the modernization of food, with the modernization of living, we are more depending upon the processed food than the home cooked food. So, and the children, the age group of children is very much exposed to these things. So,
can you be exposed to acrylamide?
Yes, sir. I can also be exposed to acrylamide because of chips, French fries, then cosmetics we use. So these are the basic sources of exposure.
Any other source?
Any other source, sir? Inhalation, tobacco, coffee.
Any other source? I am not talking root.
Sir, source, coffee, potato chips, French fries.
Any other source which you, as a researcher, you can be exposed to?
Sir, as a researcher, right now in my lab, I'm not exposed to acrylamide. But if I start working in a factory dealing with chemicals.
Do you know what is full form of PAGE? PAGE.
Polyacrylamide. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Polyacrylamide, SDS PAGE, Western blot. But we are.
Madam, sir, why you are forgetting? Okay. So Centella asiatica is, you are using extract, na? What is the active principle of this compound?
So acetic acid, acetic acid, and malate acid.
They are found in other plants as well. What is the specific marker? You know that once you identify certain medicinal plant, you have marker for that, which are unique to that compound, or maybe high content of a particular this Centella asiatica is, what is the common name?
Brahmi, sir. Brahmi.
Acha, Brahmika. Okay, sorry.
Yes, sir.
So Brahmi, what is the major active principle or specific alkaloids or any other group of chemicals? Which
it is rich in triterpenoid, and we have used it as the active component.
Triterpenoid. Okay, 3-nitro.
Yes.
Sir, sorry for intervening again. Yeah.
We will, don't worry, Ms. Simranjit, we have understood your presentation, and don't worry that if you have not made full, we will give any आपका पैसे नहीं है ना मार्क्स कटेंगे, ठीक है? So we will give full weightage to your presentation.
Sir, I'm very grateful that I've given the second chance.
We gave you many chances.
I'm grateful for
our Honorable Vice Chancellor is there online,
right.
And you know, but you made almost everything you already explained. So we will, while in assessing the your presentation, we will definitely give all equal weightage to you. Though this is technology, sometime beyond our control. So, Christian, would you like to say anything
so much,
now?
Sir.
President of the university is also there, Professor Vice Chancellor Dr. Goel. So, we need to quickly conclude. And then, Patilji, are you
exactly.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the. I'm enjoying the discussion and the presentations. Please go ahead. Let us wind up the.
Yeah. All presentations are done, sir.
Yeah, let me conclude this oral presentation session. We are very sorry that it took almost 1 hour more than the expected time. We're sorry for that. So with this, I'm requesting the juries to evaluate the students, evaluate the presenters at the back end. Share the messages on WhatsApp group if you wish, or you can call each other or send emails.